Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama review. In today's review we're going to be continuing our look at the recent Ninth Doctor adventures of 2022 in the second volume of the 2022 series, being Into the Stars, starring Christopher Eccleston as the Ninth Doctor. This release is available to order now on the Big Finish website in multiple different formats, including vinyl record, physical CD and download, and can also be purchased as part of a bundle alongside the other Series 2 releases. So once again, and as always pretty much with the Ninth Doctor adventures, it doesn't matter if you haven't listened to any of the previous Ninth Doctor stories. This box set is of course standalone, featuring 3 separate adventures, including of course the return of the Sontarans, and 2 other rather intriguing and different stories, including Jack Frost, as well as some rather rich aliens in space, trying to sell an alien which is the last of its species. So this is quite an exciting set, because the previous Ninth Doctor adventures have been very Earth-focused, so hopefully this box set does something quite different. Timothy X. Atack opens Into the Stars with Salvation 9, seeing the Ninth Doctor come face to face once more with the Sontarans. Now, when this set was initially announced, I did wonder if this was a little bit of a marketing strategy to see this Doctor team up with a TV foe, because the series to date has in fact been considerably new and creative when it came to its foes and villains, only so far seeing the Cybermen return as a reoccurring monster. I think it would be very easy to simply rehash what we've seen already with the Sontarans on screen, but what Salvation 9 achieves is in fact the exact opposite of that. We have a whole new settlement of Sontarans who go by the name of Niners, who live peacefully with their own little village. The special thing about this plot is that it does something new with the Sontarans, which plays with their societal beliefs of being bred for war, but also the narrative really suits the personality of the Doctor. A Doctor who is looking for hope after the Time War, and this story finds him right in the middle of that hope. Except said positive news is about to be destroyed by the Third Alliance fleet, who are on their way to destroy the Niners of Salvation 9 due to being at war with the Sontarans for many years. But how can the Doctor convince the Alliance that these Niners are developed far beyond the beliefs of the Sontarans? This story plays with extremes, taking away the Sontarans' obsession with war and battle and replacing it with a curious domestic lifestyle of Niners who simply want to live in their own little peaceful world. This story definitely kept me guessing as a listener because it feels very wrong, and as a result every single scene with the Niners is very unusual to listen to. It's an absolute joy hearing 9 team up with a kind-hearted version of the Sontarans, who've made a little world for themselves. It's really wholesome how they wish to help the Doctor protect their part of the universe, but also help the Doctor face his own inner judgment, asking the big question, can the Sontarans really change completely? Salvation 9 is a really welcoming way to start this set and delivers far beyond what I was expecting from a Sontaran return story, being one of their most unique outings I've listened to date. I'm glad that this story does something new with the Sontarans, as I was thinking it was just going to be the same old. I'm glad that the episode does also utilise some of the comedy seen with the Sontarans in new series Doctor Who, but it's done in a measured, careful way, not too over the top. It brings out some of the really enjoyable, warm aspects of the Ninth Doctor's personality, whilst creating quite a feel-good new series adventure. Especially given that this incarnation of the Doctor is now fresh from the Time War, it's also quite nice to have a narrative which sees this Doctor kind of in another war, but this time bouncing between the different sides, trying to help each side of the war come to a peaceful conclusion. It's a nice little parallel to the Time War, but also kind of shows how desperate I suppose that the Ninth Doctor is for peace in the universe. The last of the zetacine follows the same otherworldly style to episode 1. It's nice seeing 9 voyage out into space, with the vast majority of his stories so far at Big Finish being Earth-based. But that doesn't stop him making humanoid friends along the way. This time we have the character of Nell, who helps the Doctor in freeing the zetacine, the last of its kind, currently being held captive as a prize for the mega-rich as they play a game called Artrabilius Sevenfold Pincer. Nell is superbly portrayed by Alice Feetham. She truly embraces the role of a companion and stands out more than your usual support character. I'd happily see more of her and Nine together, as the dynamic feels really genuine between them. Both of the characters share a great passion and excitement for travelling in the universe. The whole location of this story fits the early new series story style very well, being bold in its variety of aliens, featuring many unusual voices. It reminds me of The End of the World or The Long Game. The audio techniques used are very creative, making a believable alien world atmosphere. Christopher Eccleston offers another great performance with his determination to save the zetacine from the predetermined fate by the rich. You can't help but compare the Doctor to the zetacine being a last of its kind and wandering space due to it no longer having a home of its own. Nine is quite confrontational when it comes to the mega-rich and royalty seen within the story, seemingly having no time for their greed. Nine is quickly becoming a very easy Doctor to listen to within the audio drama form. He really guides the listener through the adventure. It's also lovely to see the return of Maureen O'Brien as the dancing arachnid character, who is kind of a support of the story. She kind of makes the alien world feel like it has a bit more going on rather than just this alien kind of game playing plot, but at the same time it may have been nice to see a little bit more of her character, because for me personally I couldn't quite see her full purpose in the actual narrative and what the character contributed, but I did want to see more from her, so that is a good sign. Of course, within the TV show, Maureen O'Brien did play the First Doctor's companion of Vicky, so of course it's nice to also see the Big Finish are bringing back actors who have of course contributed previously to the Doctor Who universe. James Kettle has ensured that we know enough about all of the main characters to ensure that the story has depth. The plot isn't overly complex and manages its time well to build on character, location and plot. The highlight of this episode for me is the way that the Ninth Doctor and Nell decide to infiltrate the Archibald Games, and basically we see Nell pretending to be a member of royalty from a distant planet, definitely kind of relying on stereotypes of being rich and powerful and not really quite knowing what she has to do, but we see them excellently coming into the games, trying to essentially win the zetacine for themselves and ultimately be able to free the creature into the universe once more. I found that really entertaining, and again it kind of showed how the Ninth Doctor's personality worked and the plan that he had within his mind, but equally how Nell also had the plan of her own that she wished to do, and kind of seeing them both clash but at the same time run with each other's ideas and respect each other's ideas, because the Doctor kind of puts trust in Nell that she's doing the right thing. It's a really bold way to introduce a companion-style character, and again, I'd happily see her return in the future. Tim Foley returns to conclude Into the Stars with Break the Ice, seeing the Doctor come face to face with the last of the Winter Gods, being Jack Frost himself. The volume is ending out on an absolute high, with a story that embraces once more the Ninth Doctor's voyage of hope in the universe. A good old Christmas special, but also a proper evil baddie. I'm always pleasantly surprised when there's a Christmas special that I actually enjoy, because I must admit, Christmas specials, in my opinion, have been considerably weak now for quite a number of years on TV screens when it comes to Doctor Who, and when I watch a Christmas special from the show, I always tend to rely on the same ones, which are usually from the early 10th Doctor era. I don't think I've revisited any of the 11th Doctor Christmas specials, literally since they've aired, so it's really nice to actually be able to experience a Christmas special, being this one, that I actually really like and I definitely want to return to in December and listen to when in the festive spirit. Humans have reached into the stars and have settled on a station in the outer orbit of Venus, the furthest that humans have ever gone before. But the Doctor knows that something is wrong. As the inhabitants experiment with cryo-chamber technology, the Doctor knows that something much colder awaits them. Jack Frost is a worthy threat to go up against the Doctor. His poetic ways of describing his love for the sheer cold as he inhabits the warm human body is incredibly eerie, but also that powerful hold he has over humans, seeing them as disposable, makes for a really threatening villain. I do love a story which sees humanity voyaging into space, but not everything is all pristine and polished and perfect science fiction. I do like a story that kind of has a not too functional spaceship with wires and panels everywhere, because that's very much like what it's like in reality with the likes of the International Space Station. I definitely got the sense that these humans were very isolated from Earth, dealing with these problems of being far away from home for the first ever time, and again that's something that you can link to if we ever have a base on the moon, and certainly the struggles of being away from home that the astronauts have again on the International Space Station today. I think, yes, technically this story is basically a base under siege. We have Jack Frost coming on board the Venus Space Station and plucking off people one by one, and subsequently we do get quite a number of rather haunting death scenes, which is always nice for a Christmas special. There's a lovely moment where one of the characters is in fact wearing a crown, a paper crown, because it's Christmas, although Jack Frost doesn't see the point in it and he believes that he should have a proper crown. And I think it's really powerful the way that he has dominance over humanity. It's very scary, as I say, scary and threatening, and brings a whole new level to the villain within this episode, which definitely ups the stakes. One last note for this episode is that I love the way that Tim Foley actually explores very real human problems, and it's something that he has done quite a number of times within his audio dramas, both within the Doctor Who universe as well as the Torchwood releases, and I always really respect his writing because of that. In this episode, we have him tackling issues of anxiety and panic attacks, and Dr. Lenny Fisk actually suffering from them, and it's great to have a character that is clearly being the head of her field. She's in space, she's gone where no other humans have gone before, and yet she is still struggling with these very real problems, and it's just lovely to have a Doctor Who writer that actually feels comfortable in talking about these issues and actually giving them representation, because it is a very real thing. It's something that people actually experience, sadly, and it is something that I really appreciate seeing being represented within a Doctor Who story, but at the same time it not being the focus of the episode. It's a way to show how characters are very real and need to actually sometimes deal with these issues and deal with these reoccurring problems on a daily basis in some very normal situations, but also simultaneously very unusual and weird situations, such as running from a godly force which comes from another dimension that's called Jack Frost, which works just as well also. The ending of this story is also really powerful. I must admit, I can't quite recall how Jack Frost is actually overcame within the story. Of course the Doctor does win, because after all, it's Christmas, but the ending of this episode actually is really emotional, it's really powerful, and I will leave you to discover it for yourself, but it's possibly one of my favourite moments on Big Finish so far this year, because it's just a really nice moment and kind of harks back to those feel-good sort of scenes within Doctor Who Christmas specials, and again, it's very, very Ninth Doctor, because yes, he can't change time, not one line, however sometimes he can pretend to be Santa and make a child's wish come true, which I think is really lovely, and again, because it's Tim Foley, he's written it so very well. So there we have it, that is my review of the Ninth Doctor Adventures Series 2, Volume 2, entitled Into the Stars. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Doctor Who content, including regular Big Finish audio drama reviews, and do of course stay tuned for future Ninth Doctor adventures, because who knows where we are going next. Personally, I think we've had quite a lot of standalone stories by this point, and it would be nice to maybe see the series start to tackle a plot arc, maybe a little bit more like how we got to see within the first volume of the series with Ravagers, because I think it's time to do something with the Ninth Doctor that is similar to the 10th Doctor Dalek Universe series, perhaps with this big high-stakes ideas as opposed to regular standalone stories, which yes, are great for people who want to join Big Finish for the first ever time, but now we've had quite a number of those sets, it will be nice to maybe move on to a more extravagant plot. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you all next time.